Hello! Does this ever happen to you? There's no way I can lose. I've just stuck every rare card I have into a single deck. It's guaranteed to win. Okay, so you see, with these 5 cards in my hand, and if I draw this card on my turn, then I've got this amazing 6-card combo that no one can beat, and it's guaranteed to make my deck win. I'm gonna go to nationals with this. Hi Scoop. Hi Scoop. Hi Scoop. Now I've got you. Then maybe you need more consistency and synergy in your decks. The Oxford English Dictionary defines consistency as the way in which a substance holds together, thickness or viscosity. That can't be right. In card games, consistency is the ability for your deck to do what it needs to do to win in a repeatable manner. You can have the most amazing card combo ever that guarantees a win for you, but if you can only do that 1 out of every 20 games, that's not a great way to win. There are a few ways to increase the consistency of your deck. The first and simplest is by increasing the number of copies of the key cards in your deck. You'll notice in Flesh and Blood there's a limit of 3 of any specific card. But also notable is that there are 3 variants of most cards, allowing you to potentially run 9 copies of roughly the same card in a single deck. In Magic the Gathering, they also have a card limit of 4 copies. If you look at any of the competitive deck lists for both games, they are usually running the maximum number of copies they can for key cards. These are currently on screen now. The only exception to this are unusual decks or decks running an obscure strategy that may want to take advantage of other methods. The reason cards are run with multiple copies is to maximize the chance of drawing their winning strategy into their hand, and to protect against their first attempt at it being destroyed by another player's defensive actions or card destruction. The second method to increase the consistency in your deck is through deck thinning and running a minimum deck size. In both games' constructed formats, there is a 60 card minimum on the deck size. This is in place as otherwise players would just make decks consisting entirely of their ideal opening hand and whatever additional card they needed to actually win the game. To increase your chances of winning and to get the cards you need when you need them, it is in most cases most beneficial to run the minimum card size, as the utility trade-off of adding in extra cards versus the chance of actually drawing what you need when you need it has been worked out. Deck thinning is a process of removing cards from your deck during the game to increase the chances of drawing cards you need. Several cards have effects that can play into this. As an example, look at the fetch lands in Magic the Gathering. These are one of the top land choices for a deck in all the formats where they are legal. Upon playing it, it removes itself and allows you to draw another land card from the deck, which allows you to fix your mana as needed while also removing 2 cards from the deck. Additional strategies around reusing these are also implemented, which further accelerate the deck thinning effect. This plays into our next component, synergy. In card games, synergy is the ability for cards in your deck to help other cards in your deck do what they need to do in a more effective way. As an example of this, in Flesh and Blood, if you want to win by making singular big attacks, a big attack card will be benefited by other cards that increase the damage of a single attack, or cards which give dominate or intimidate to prevent your opponent implementing defensive actions and preventing the attack from going through. In Magic the Gathering, if you want cards in graveyards, cards that force your opponents to discard their hands, or remove cards from your deck to the graveyard, in combination with other cards that want cards in the graveyard or can interact with cards in the graveyard, will all allow you to use your strategy in a more effective manner. Another example of synergy are search cards or tutor cards. These are cards that allow you to search your deck for a specific card and either put it to the top of your deck, into your hand, or onto the field, depending on how effective a card they are. This allows you to implement the last piece of combination you need to go off, or get an answer to whatever has occurred this turn. This is an incredibly powerful effect, as it allows you to both implement your strategy on the fly and defend against the unexpected. It should be noted that every card in your deck does not need to have a synergistic effect. Some cards are sufficiently powerful by themselves. These are generally cards that give large resource boons, for example, Sol Ring in Commander, or cards which are just incredibly powerful on their own or form a core function. This would be a powerful defensive action for Flesh and Blood, or a really good card wipe for Magic the Gathering. This was just a brief overview of synergy and consistency as it applies to deck building. There are far more considerations that go into this. As you can see from this chart, even just having the maximum copy number allowed for each game drastically increases your chances of getting the card you want. And when you're going into a constructed environment, you have to take this into consideration. As much as I'd like to be able to run a singleton copy, as that's a format I quite like, if you're going to be going up against people who are running sets of 4 of, it's something you need to be aware of and be able to match. If there are particular aspects you think were critical to this process that I should have mentioned or maybe left out, please don't be afraid to comment below, giving your own thoughts and opinions, or even suggestions when it comes to deck building. This wasn't a full in-depth overview of the entire process, it was just briefly touching on the concepts to bring awareness of them to new players who may be coming into the game and are quite excited to get to use all their cards and maybe don't quite know how the efficiency of their cards stacks up or misunderstand rarity being strictly better. If you've enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe and I'll be back again soon with more aspects of card gaming.